All right, today's topic is English as a global language. Now, linguists use the term global language to refer to the use of English worldwide for global communication. I know some of you, your first languages are Spanish or Chinese, but English is our common language here in the classroom, what's known as the lingua franca. It's the common language throughout the world right now as well, isn't it? Professor Braj B. Kachru, an authority on the use of English, called the current global use of English unprecedented. This means that in the history of the world, there has never been one language used by so many people. It just hasn't happened before. And it's important that we as linguists consider what it means for English to be a global language. Now, today I'm going to give you two contrasting points of view about English as a global language. One is that English is now used all over the world, and it's actually replacing other languages. Now, according to this point of view, English will be used instead of other languages in the future. Eventually, so this argument goes, it will be the only language people speak. Now, the second point of view is that English will not truly become a global language and replace other languages because it's not the main language spoken by people worldwide in their daily lives. Supporters of this point of view acknowledge that people all over the world use English every day to communicate in certain domains like business or science or government. They contend, however, that people have retained their first languages and will continue to do so. And this point of view is supported by linguist David Crystal, author of English as a Global Language and other books. So let's examine some facts that support the first point of view. Now, first, English is clearly the dominant language of business, science, and international travel. When we need a common language, whether in airports or hotels or at international meetings, it's English. If you take a taxi in Rome and you don't speak Italian, the driver is more likely to use English than another language, right? Now, in addition, the European Union uses English for both written and spoken communication. Scientists worldwide use English. Business schools in Europe are now teaching their classes in English. Even in France, a country that has fought very hard in the past to keep English out. I'm sure all of you can think of many situations where English is the common language. How about the internet? You use English there, don't you? Okay. Second, 75 countries use English as an official language in the government and in banks and so on. Now, for some countries, like England, English is the only official language. In other countries, like India, there's more than one official language. In India, Hindi and English are both official languages used to run the country. So, to sum up, we know millions of people throughout the world need a common language to facilitate communication. That's clear. But right now, being proficient in English gives them an advantage in many situations. Nevertheless, does this mean that English will eventually replace other languages? With that question in mind, let's turn to the second point of view. Why some people don't think English will replace other languages. Now first, according to recent data, more than 1 billion people speak some English as a second or third language. However, English isn't their primary language at home and with friends. Now, this is a key point. These people may use English for work or school each day, but nowhere else. Right? Even in English-speaking countries, millions of people prefer to speak a language other than English all the time. For example, Spanish is very common in large cities like New York or LA. Second, I mentioned there are 75 countries where English is the official language, but this doesn't mean that everyone there speaks English. Not at all. Take India again. Most sources agree that less than half of the population actually knows some English. Okay. Third, people may only know the English required for a specific job situation. For example, the taxi driver in Rome that I mentioned earlier may only know phrases like, where are you going, or what is the name of your hotel? And another example is with the airlines. Pilots in Korea or China may only learn the English they need on the job. English doesn't replace Korean or Chinese for them. They don't use English instead of their first language. They use it in addition to. There are many situations worldwide like this, aren't there? It's evident that millions of people worldwide know only the English required for specific situations. English isn't their main language in daily life. So where does that leave us? Well, now that you've heard the reasons behind these 2 points of view about English as a global language, what do you think? Myself, I don't see it replacing other languages. I agree with David Crystal that language is a part of culture. As globalization continues, the use of English spreads, people will want to hold on to their own languages and cultures more than ever. Do you agree? I want you to think about these questions. First, with English as a global language, do we need an international standard, a form that we all agree on? Question 2, if yes, which standard should we use? Or last question, is it okay to have different varieties of English, like Italian English or Japanese English? And why? Think these over. We'll see you next time.
Hey, you know when the lecturer was talking about languages and culture?
Yeah.
And he said, other languages will exist as long as other cultures exist? Well, I'm in total agreement with him. I don't think English will ever replace other languages.
Oh, definitely.
Right. I don't see other languages disappearing. I mean, yeah, I need English for class now, or maybe someday at my job. But when I call my parents or my friends back home in China, we don't use English.
Oh, it's the same with me. I have so many Jordanian friends who speak English, but when we're together, we only speak Arabic.
Well, what about the idea of having an international standard for English? I mean, do you guys think we need one?
What exactly do they mean by international standard?
It's like a set of rules,
Right.
For grammar, spelling, I don't know, pronunciation that everyone agrees to.
Well, how is everyone gonna agree to? Seems kind of impossible.
Well, it seems likely to me that there'll always be varieties, kind of like dialects of English as you go to different places around the world.
Yeah, so a standard wouldn't be helpful, would it?
But I mean, if you don't have a standard, then you're gonna start getting all kinds of crazy vocabulary words and weird spellings.
You're joking, right? English already has crazy vocab words and weird spelling.
I know.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.